Hi guys, do excuse the messy background, but I really wanted to film on the floor here before I put my ottoman back next to my bed because it looks nice and I wanted to sit on the floor and film. So today I'm going to be reviewing Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. This is the first time I've actually seen a film in ages, like pretty much the day after it's come out. I usually wait a few weeks, I don't know why, that's just how it goes I suppose. But I was super hyped and I went to see this with Chloe. We saw it on the 1st of October. I don't know when this is going to be up, hopefully soon. So yeah, I will be mentioning it in my film wrap up if this goes up before the film wrap up, I'm not too sure. But yeah, here's what I thought about it. So I gave this a 4 stars, and basically it is a Tim Burton film based on Ransom Riggs's books, the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children trilogy. So I was super excited. Some of you might have seen my trailer review. I won't say reaction, but it's more like a review. I go in depth and I do explain a bit more of the points that I'm going to be talking about here in that video. It might sound confusing, but in terms of characters and my hopes and expectations for the film, I go into detail in that video if you want to check it out if you haven't already. But for now, this is going to be a review on the film. I was that person in the cinema, I kept getting my phone out, but I was actually writing notes, so they are kind of sporadic in the way they're written, so hopefully you still enjoy or understand what I'm trying to say. It's going to be spoiler free. So I just want to talk about acting. Honestly, the acting wasn't that great until the peculiar children were introduced. I don't know why, I just felt like it was a little bit off and a little bit forced. And the Jake's accent, I think he's actually British, but I forgot he was British for the majority of it. I think his name's Ezra or something, but he was in The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas and Ender's Game, and I'm pretty sure he's a British person, but his accent mustn't have been too bad because I actually forgot he was British until about the 3rd of the way in, when I was like, hold on, he's in this and this and this and he's not American. But his dad, who I think plays Roy in the IT Crowd, who is Irish I believe, his accent was just off. It just didn't sound right. Again, it sounded forced and that. But as soon as we got the peculiar children into the film, everything just went straight up, you know, a bit more top notch, a bit more better acting I suppose. In terms of a storyline, again, if you guys have seen my trailer, you may have known that I was concerned that certain things were changed, and in this, although it did have a similar plot and I guess an end goal that the books had, it was just, it took a different route and was altered in a way that I just feel like was too condensed. It should have been spanned out over the books, but it was squished into one, and it was just, I don't know, a little bit too altered. But in a way I liked it because it was different, but you know, it was still doing a good justice on the books, if that makes sense, even though it was different. Again, the children, as I mentioned in the trailer review, were kind of swapped. For example, we've got Emma, who's swapped abilities and character design with Olive. We've got the age difference, like Bronwyn, I feel like she should have been a bit older, but she was a child. Enoch, again, I thought he should have been a child, but he was older, and that was to kind of I guess set up the story and character interests with each other for this particular film, which I think Ransom Riggs actually commented on. He said he didn't mind because he knew Burton had a vision and this is how he changed it, and I do think Burton pulled it off really well. I've never been disappointed with anything that he's brought out, but when it's a book that you love, you do get a little bit skeptical, but I think he did really well. Obviously I knew characters were going to be changed. I didn't think the storyline was going to be exactly true to the series, but those things didn't annoy me too much. But for some reason, this little aspect, the way that Jacob met the peculiar children, that bothered me because it was way too easy, it was way too quick, it was just glazed upon, you know, it was just, it's over. And it didn't have the trouble and issues that it had in the book, which bothered me because that scene, even though as small as it was, it built up a lot of character development, and it built up what certain characters were like and what we could expect for the rest of the book, and it would make a bigger impact for when certain characters change a little bit or open up more. But we just didn't get that, so we lacked a bit of development in that part. Hollows. They did the Hollows really well. They looked so creepy and they reminded me of Slender Man, but even more elongated. Definitely based on that, I've got to say. It was so creepy. Really freaky. I think they looked really well. Like the design of them was really awesome. They didn't look too fake in comparison to the real scenery around them. They fit in really well. Some scenes felt a little bit patchy and like clipped as if it should have been longer, but they had to shorten it or something, so it felt like cut too abruptly and then we was at a different scene. I feel like, for example, if it showed us one scene with the children and then another scene with Jacob on his own with his dad or something, it should have flowed a bit better, but it just felt too abrupt, too short, you know. So that made viewing it a little bit awkward, and it just didn't flow as well as I'd hoped it would. I loved that the twins were involved in it. You know, if some of you read the book, the twins with like the clown masks and everything, they're not really in the books, but I loved that they were brought into the film, and their peculiar ability was amazing. It was only like briefly touched upon, they just used it once, and it was awesome. I wasn't expecting that. I kind of never really thought what their peculiarness was because they look so peculiar, so I didn't think, oh, they must have an ability. But oh my god, I was not expecting that. It was awesome and it came in handy. I loved the addition of these characters being used more. However, there was some characters that were brought in from the other books in the trilogy, and I feel like it didn't need to happen. They were major characters, and I feel like if they were to make, because at this point I didn't know if they were going to make book 2 and book 3 into films, but at this point I'm thinking if they were to make another movie it wouldn't make sense because of the stuff that they kind of rushed into one film and pushed into one film. I just feel like it would have been better if it was spanned out. So because they did take so many aspects out of book 2 and 3 and twisted the situations a fair bit, I can't really see Tim Burton making any more movies in the peculiar world. The only way I can think he'd do that is if he maybe bases his storyline just a little bit off of the rest of the books, but even that's a bit impossible because of what he's done with this film. Or perhaps he's just going to have to completely make a new storyline, just something completely different, not to do with any of the books, just his own creation, because that's the only way it will make sense due to what he has done with this film. I'm trying to be as vague as possible because, say if you've read the first book but you haven't read the others, I don't want to spoil it for you, because if I say a name or I say a situation, you're going to be spoiled for the books ahead, if that makes sense. But if you go and watch the film, you won't know that you would have been spoiled. Does that make sense? Until you read the books. Yeah, Burton did do his own thing in this, but he followed a similar formula to the books, and I think he did it well. But overall, this film does have a very similar plot and goal that the books had, but it took a very different layout to get there, and I really enjoyed it. The cinematography was beautiful. Again, Burton always has the most stunning visuals, very beautiful, whether it's real life people or animated, you know, he does it really well, and so that's why I was really excited to see a film by him on a series that I loved, but also very skeptical because I didn't know how he'd pull it off, and I didn't want to be disappointed with a movie tie-in to a book series that I loved and a director that I loved, and he didn't disappoint me. Things, yes, are a bit different, quite a bit different here and there, but he's made it his own and he's made it very, very well, and I really enjoy it. So I think I will leave that here now. Let me know what you thought of the film, and if you've read the books or how far in the series you are. If you feel like you've been spoiled for the other books, why, but obviously mention that it's a spoiler alert or whatever. And yeah, that's it for this, and I will speak to you next time. Bye.